Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm joined with Joe748 and SD1. How's it going, SD1?
Going really well. A little tired, but pumped to be here.
Why are you tired?
Because we just had another amazing boot camp, and that always exhausts me.
And then we stayed up in the hot tub hanging out with some AP friends that were in town until way past your bedtime, Mr. East Coast.
Way past. But we got to talk about aliens again, so that's cool.
And Joe748, how you doing?
I'm not tired because I have this delicious cold brew brought to you by our sponsor, Slingshot Coffee, which is not really our sponsor because we're too lazy to get sponsors, but it actually is amazing cold brew. It's called Slingshot. It's a company out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and you can find them at Sprouts.
All right, and we make nothing but go buy some Slingshot Coffee.
I think it's the best.
It is really good.
Packaged cold brew you can get.
And what do you pair it with? Do you have a preferred oat milk?
This is good enough where it is so smooth without anything. This totally sounds like a commercial, but I just really like this coffee.
Also, if you don't know, Joe is my authority when I want to ask about coffee. His palate is very refined, and that's coming from somebody that used to actually sell coffee. But I trust his his opinion over mine even.
If you were to pair it with an oat milk, what's the one that you go for?
I'm pretty much an Oatly purist.
Oatly? Okay. This podcast also brought to you not by Oatly. All right. It's been 5 years since we had SD1.
And 1 month.
Yes, 5 years and 1 month since he was on his inaugural podcast, and he's hopped on a handful of times for some Q&As, some mailbag episodes. But we thought it would be a good idea to catch up because 5 years ago, you were part-time, you were playing blackjack around your work travel schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about training and you talked about that part of it, part-time, and how it worked for you with travel. But since then, a lot has changed. So one of those biggest things is that, wasn't it around 2020 you went full-time?
Yeah, right before COVID. Great timing.
Why? What resulted in you deciding to go full-time?
It was a mixture of a couple things. I had a huge advantage as a part-time player. I was in sales and an individual contributor. So I made my own schedule. I'd literally planned my own travel. There was no approval process or anything like that. And I was all over the country. So that's a huge advantage when you have a really rock solid corporate job. And I made very good money. And then none of my travel expenses are there. The company is subsidizing my AP play, and at nighttime, what else are you going to do? So I would go get that EV. I think that because of that, I probably went longer as a part-timer, even though I logged some church team full-time hours, at least. One big thing that happened was a big multi-billion-dollar corporation bought my company, and I was the top salesperson in the entire company. I was managing 33 different states, and they did the big corporate thing. So they're like, oh, and anybody that's been in sales will understand this. How many calls have you made? How many emails have you logged? This, that, and they're micromanagement essentially. And I'm like, this is not how I operate. Just look at my numbers. That's all you should care about. I'm not going to waste my time on this kind of stuff. And that kind of kept building and building. And then I just kept looking at my money I was making from AP, and it was surpassing my very good corporate job by a lot. And I'm like, well, if I were able to do this full time, what would that look like? Would it look the same? Would I have them more freedom and not have to deal with this? So, yeah, I decided to pull the trigger, and then got a couple months in, COVID.
So to me, you're kind of the poster child of how the part-timer can use this so effectively. You had your job, you had travel expenses covered, and Advantage Play was this big investment opportunity. You're able to grow this extra money, but not have the stress and all of that of paying the bills from Advantage Play. After you made that jump, can you kind of share some of those pros and cons of either side?
Yeah, it is a security blanket that's kind of taken out from under you. And I was raised I didn't really realize it, but I was kind of very lower middle class. But at the same time, like looking back, I was raised that way in terms of like thinking about money and finance. And I learned a lot from my father and grandfather, invested early, but also like I was banged over the head with a wood plank board that said zero debt, zero debt, zero debt. So if I ever had to float a credit card balance at all, it wrecked me. Like it just gave me a lot of anxiety. So without that security blanket, and then COVID hit, that freaked me out. Honestly, it was ridiculous because I had plenty of money, but when you don't have something like coming in on a consistent basis, it shifts and changes things. But then I quickly realized I'm like, this is just handling it like I handle sales, because sales isn't consistent either. Especially the last job I had, it was a long sales cycle. So you had to plan around months that were famine and months that were feast. And that was just a sales cycle. So when I started shifting and thinking about it that way, that kind of eased my mind. The pros, and being a full-time AP, the pros of it, yeah, a lot more money, a lot more freedom. My travel wasn't to the same daggone Marriott in different cities all over the country. It was, I could incorporate work trips with making them fun. I was doing a lot more like fun things with other AP friends, meeting up for some things, not even necessarily around some targeted play, just like, hey, want to go here and let's see what's there and let's work a little bit kind of a situation. But then also, it did give me more freedom, as much freedom as I had with my job and then being an AP also and being a part-timer. I couldn't just leave in a flash and go somewhere. Well, that opened up a much bigger world in other AP plays that I had been working on and skill sets. And then that kind of ballooned that world as well for me because I had the freedom to leave that night or the next morning.
Are there things that you kind of missed about the way it worked before, whereas part-time worked around a well-paying job?
No. No.
How did it look differently because before when you had the job, it was like you're going around to all these cities because of the job, and then at night, play as long as you can. When you had just a totally open schedule, what was your plan of attack for playing, like cities you went to? Like, how did you figure out where to go?
Yeah. I started looking at my local scene differently, and it was more planning for AP trips as opposed to my schedule dictates where I'm going. So when I was a part-timer, I did have specific AP trips that I did where I'd fly to a specific casino. I mean, in my part-time career, I had maybe 3 trips that look like what you guys did, where I had this home base and then just drove 100 miles all over hitting all the casinos. That's it. The rest of them were to one targeted place that I was playing, or it was dictated by my schedule. So now I could like kind of look at, okay, I'm going to attack this area and there is no like schedule of a day job or responsibilities that I have. It opened things up a lot more too. I think it made me a little bit more loose too, because that's when I started. I'd had the bankroll to do it for a while, but that's when I started popping the spread more too.
I want to go back a little bit to when you did have the job. So when you did the day job, or when you're on your trips, work trips, let's say, what time would you finish around?
Oh gosh, 3 to 5 o'clock.
Okay, so then 5 p.m. rolls around, work's over. Were you ever traveling with coworkers, or was it just by yourself?
I mean, every now and again, the head of the aerial division was with me, and he went to a casino with me once. We were out, where were we? It was Wyoming. So we went to this conference, and if you guys haven't been to Wyoming, it is beautiful. But this is like end of winter, and there really isn't much in Wyoming. So I didn't like pre-plan this because I was going to be with him. And I was like, I'm just going to look at casinos. And sure enough, 15 minutes away, there's a casino. And so we go to dinner, and Malcolm's like, I feel like kind of like staying up. He wasn't a drinker or anything like that. Not that I'm a big one, but like I was just like, oh yeah. I said, well, he knew what I did. And I said, well, I'm going to go to a casino. He was like, can I come with you? And I was like, sure. I can't promise it's going to go well. I can't promise we're not going to get kicked out or whatever. And we went to this casino. Conditions were horrific. But I got them to open a table with different limits, and they had rules written on the table. And then after I started playing the first hand, I started, making decisions like, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't do that? Like, you can't double this. This is like a 6-day game. I'm like, what? You can't tell me that. Like, the rules are right there. They're like, no. For opening this table, we're making these rules. I'm like, well, I already put the money on the felt and I've already been dealt, and the rules are right there. They're like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, okay, what else can and can I not do? And then they started listing stuff, and I was just like, I'm not going to play. I'm out. So I ended up playing like 4 hands, but I made $1,500, and Malcolm thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
How did you make $1,500 in 4 hands? The count shot up immediately?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a shoe game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I remember this specifically. I split the first 2 hands, and like low cards started.
Yeah.
I mean, because I played 2-handed the whole time. I didn't go from 1 to 2. And it was just a firing of low cards, and it jumped up, and I went straight to 2 hands of 500.
Was it heat, or did they just were afraid of the max action?
I think they were scared of the action.
Yeah, because this place was so tiny and out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I think they were just scared of the action, and I had also found out there was a particular, again, I'm comfortable talking about this, but there was a skill-based slot machine that I had made a lot of money on, and I had found out that it literally got taken out from that casino 2 days prior. I was like, daggone it.
Is this?
Maybe.
Okay. This is the place that I remember we had a picture. This was during the church team days. Someone took a picture, and the pit boss had a fly swatter hanging from his belt.
Wow.
It's a classy joint.
Yeah, no knock on the people of Wyoming Nichols, but there's some unique characters out there, and I think you know that.
Yeah. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous.
After you'd get off work, you'd go play. How long would you play for until you called it quits for the night when you're on these work trips?
Oh, yeah. So that was the prop. So there was pros and cons being able to do this. Travel expenses, whatever. If I got flyered, well, it didn't matter. Like the next day I'm out and I'm across the country. Like, so no harm, no foul. But if somebody was letting me play, I had to stop myself because I had meetings in the morning. So that sucked. If I was getting no heat, whatever. So I had to stop myself at some point. I will not lie. I showed up to more than a few morning sales calls with about 5 coffees in me because maybe I played too long.
Like what was the latest you would play if you had to get up at
the latest
8?
8? There were probably a couple times like I left the casino, showered, and went straight to the meeting.
Okay, cool. I didn't know it was that you were going that hard.
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, if they're letting you spread and nothing is happening at all, it's like I can't.
When conditions are really good, it just feels so hard to walk away from the conditions and no heat.
Yeah. And it would suck because I was flying out like that night, and I'm like, I got to do lunch with this client. There's no way I can get back there and get hours in and keep pushing it because I have to leave. So that would be the con.
Yeah, but then it's like more often than not, you'd probably show up the next day and it would be an instant back off because they had all day to review what happened last night. So that was like a huge benefit to you where you could play all night. And then it's not like you were going to go back there to get the actual back off. Like
right.
You could probably go back and play all those places that you played that one night session and you're still going to be fine now.
Probably. And the thing about that is I would say a lot of my back offs didn't happen while I was playing. I got backed off coming in the next day. And a lot of that is how I behave at a table. And I think that goes a long way. And we talk about that in boot camp. But yeah, most of them were clearly like I show up and then you see the looks. You guys know the look. People start staring at you like, oh, he's back. And you're like, oh, this is over. Like that's normally when it happens, not like getting the tab while I'm playing. And
he's back and he's going to stay for weeks.
Yeah.
Like, get him out.
What advice do you give people? You spent several years on both sides, the part-time where it's really an investment and then full-time where it's income and an investment. What advice do you give people about making that decision? going full time versus having it be a part-time investment strategy?
Yeah. So coming from a lot of years in the financial world and then the investment world, I would say do not be hasty. But on the other side of the coin, there's a point where you got to have a little bit of risk. You don't do great things unless you take some risks, but don't be hasty with it. I think a lot of players out there that probably jumped in to the full-time waters too soon. Some don't have a choice. They're just going at this, and this is the thing. But there are plenty of people that have really solid corporate jobs. I mean, let's not just talk about the money. We're talking about matching 401ks. We're talking about health insurance. Like, all of these things matter. And then when you start filing taxes, also, guess what? You have to pay FICA. You have to pay into Social Security yourself, and you have to manage all those things. So it's a lot. My advice is if you have that set up, man, and you can get a couple 100 hours in a year, that's golden. And at some point, I think you'll start naturally questioning, like, could I do this full time? And then that's when you start really focusing on, does it fit for you? And if you have a family, or maybe you're just a young gun, you're like, heck yeah, this definitely fits. Let's go.
How difficult would it have been, or would it be still, if you were like, you know what, I want the comfort of the full-time job to get back into, a similar role that you had? Or was it like you're burning those bridges? Because I think about, for some people, if they give up this job, can they just get it back in a year if they don't like full-time AP life?
Well, so funny enough, like, I kept in close contact with this particular company, and like, I've been asked a couple times, like, would you consider? I didn't burn any bridges. That's one of my credos. Like, you just don't burn bridges. So I could get a job just because it's sales. I'm not in a technical role where 1 year and your skills are obsolete. I have a really proven track record and have worked in C-levels, managing teams, and selling myself. So
that can be part of the equation too, is how difficult would it be to try full-time AP?
yeah, that's a good point. Although I'll be honest, when I made the decision, in my mind, it was like, no, going back is not an option. Either I'm going to make AP work, or I'm going to make some other business work, especially after like the first few months. Back to your one question, it's great. The freedom, it's great.
You talked a lot about like the art of the act, especially at boot camps and stuff. You give some really good talks, but I haven't heard specifically like this question as far as like, what are some like tips and tricks from sales tactics have you been able to apply to the act at the table? Like, is there anything that crosses over where you're like, I'm taking this tactic I used in sales to get a certain outcome out of these people?
Yeah. So tactics, there are levels of sales, and there are trainings, and I believe that sales is not some natural gift, but the skill set can be taught, and it's perishable. However, I never did like tricks. My sales approach was like more of a need satisfaction selling. So, Joe, do you have a need? Okay. I'm going to find that need. I'm going to confirm that need. I'm going to acknowledge the need, and then I'm going to confirm the need again. And once I've confirmed it, I'm going to offer what I have that fills that need, because I've already acknowledged, confirmed, know you need it. Now, how do we get it to you? That's like higher level sales. And then every now and again, like, if you need to challenge their perspective, that's like probably the highest level sales, because then you're like, have you thought about this? Notice I'm not ramming anything down your throat. I'm saying, in my experience, I think this might fit you better. That's why I had success in sales, because I was never pushing. However, that does apply, because there's fundamentals that apply to people in that style of high-end sales. And a couple things are, by and large, most people want to believe that people are good. So you need to feed into that narrative as a card counter or an AP. By and large, even if they initially are inclined to not trust you or think you're up to something, you still have to give them some form of confirmation. And the good thing about that is that pit bosses don't actually know how to count cards. So that's not what's going to confirm that you're a bad person or a card counter at AP. What's going to confirm to them is how you act. So I go in with the premise that I'm going to do anything and everything I can to confirm the narrative of what they see every day, the gambler. That's why it's effective.
You give a talk at our boot camps. This isn't a pitch for a boot camp, but I was actually curious. You give a talk about the art of the act at the boot camp. Why do you keep coming back and helping at boot camps? Have you missed one in the last few years?
I missed one.
Okay, one in the last handful of years. So why do you do it? Why do you come hang out 3-4 times a year?
Well, first and foremost, I have to be honest and say it's to hang out with you guys. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. I have very close friends that will interact on occasion, but this is like this golden opportunity when we live all over the country to come together and update and spend quality face-to-face time. You can't put a price tag on that. But secondarily, I enjoy helping, I enjoy teaching, and I want to give back to the community that gave me so much. And I've been criticized in the past for mentioning Blackjack Apprenticeship too much in podcasts, especially Gambling with an Edge. But the reality is that's where it started. I am where I am because of this community. You know, I was a quote-unquote lone wolf player. I still am. The occasional like team play or on a temporary basis, but I operate by myself. But the reality is there's no such thing as a lone wolf. People speak in American culture like a lone wolf. Oh, you're like this badass. Well, no, a lone wolf dies in nature. You want to be with the pack, and I have a pack. So I was never really a lone wolf because I had people to talk to go through things with, like downswings and emotional swings and information from people I trusted. That's huge. You try to operate alone, it's not going to be good for you.
And then you add in being able to talk about aliens. And moon landings.
UAP,
and
please. UAP and
UAP.
non-human intelligence.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
UAP.
My wife just sent me a picture on text that actually said, "Were the moon landings fake?" I think it's like a news article. So,
I mean, an opportunity.
Switching gears here.
An opportunity to talk about this stuff. I mean, how do you pass it up? You mentioned the skill-based slot machine that got removed from some casino in Wyoming. Obviously, that was when you were still part-time. So you were adding some other AP plays to your repertoire. Why did you decide to do that?
Learning is cool. It sounds really nerdy, but it is. Like, if you're not learning and challenging yourself, you're dying. So I really enjoy learning something new, and especially finding something new that takes money from the evil empire. Like just yet another way or a tool in the tool belt. I want to be an AP. I want to walk into a casino and have options of how I'm going to extract EV from them and be able to select what I think is best in that particular casino. And honestly, I tend to have delusions of grandeur sometimes. Like I walk into that casino, I'm like, oh, if they only knew who was walking into this place. It's kind of fun to think about it that way. And when you have a lot of tools, it's great. And sometimes you walk in there and you find something and you don't play it all that day because you're getting ready to call some very close friends to come in and play them a lot harder in a lot different way.
My non-AP friend sent me this Instagram video of someone in India, I think, and they had it was sort of like a roulette machine, but it was like a homemade, like really homemade. Like you could tell it was all tilted. It was like totally off axis, you know? And he was like, I wonder if there's an advantage play here. And I said, well, that homemade rigged roulette reel looks pretty off axis, but it depends on how much action we could put down to see if it's worth the flight to get out there. I went on this like paragraph rant and then he didn't respond.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have this quote from the first podcast we did with you where you said, I don't let opportunity pass me by. And that was in reference to how prepared you were for the boot camp. You had your questions ready and you wanted to get them all answered because you weren't going to let that opportunity of the boot camp pass you by. Well, I think that's interesting because that same mentality applies to both learning other AP skills. Like it's that personality that's like, oh, I'm not going to let this pass me by. I want to understand this. I want to learn new things. But then secondly, that approach to, well, if you see all the angles, you don't want to walk right by a positive EV situation,
Right.
Unless it's to walk to a higher EV situation.
Yeah. And look, the reality is I'm not a badass. I am mediocre at everything that I do. I have friends that are just exceptionally skilled at this one or two specific things that are just next level smart. And I offer something to them as well as we get along and we're cool and we work together well, then that works because I do understand what's happening, but not at the level that they do. That has benefited me greatly. I kind of live by the jack of all trades, master of none. And people always stop short on that quote and it's become an insult. But the whole quote is jack of all trades, master of none, but is often better than a master of one. It was actually an affirmation and like, this is how you should live your life. So that's kind of how I view things. And that's how I've done things for a long time, not even just AP. You know, I've had a lot of failures too, but that's part of the game.
Well, I wouldn't sell yourself too short because I guess maybe it's built into that jack of all trades. Like you're skilled enough to gain the edge at a large number of things. I just don't want people listening thinking like, oh, great. Well, you know, I can be mediocre at a bunch of
I
AP
guess,
skills.
Yeah, I mean, this mediocre AP has won well over 7 figures, so I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I guess it's a comparison statement.
Because there are some people that are just phenomenal at certain skills.
I mean, it's a totally different skill set where it's like we could get an analysis from someone who's really good at analyzing numbers and games and say, oh, here's a blackjack side bet that's beatable if you do this. But then when SD1 gets to the casino and he's seeing it, it's like, oh, well, they're letting me do this thing and this thing at the table. So then that's something that the statistician person didn't see was an opportunity.
Right.
So then you bring that to the table where it's like you're there in the trenches figuring out how to extract the most EV out of that situation that they couldn't see at the computer.
And I'm relentless. Like I really am relentless. That can be a pro and a con, honestly. But what I meant by, I just want to qualify that because that's a really good point about the mediocrity thing. I'm not mediocre. I work hard to understand the charts and to play perfect or the particular skill set that's needed if I'm in that particular role. Again, it's more of a comparison statement. Like, Joe, you give a talk at boot camp, and I've seen it. I mean, I can almost recite your talk now at this point. But I'm a perfect card counter, and I can play pretty damn fast. I cannot play as fast as you. Like, I'm in awe every time I see how skilled you were or are now even playing on that table and getting 450 plus rounds an hour. Like, that's I don't think that I'm not that level. So that's what I mean by I'm not the best of these particular skill sets, but yes, I am playing a positive game, and yes, I worked very hard to get the skills to play them.
And with card counting, a perfect game.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people that are interested in adding more AP plays to their repertoire?
This gets asked a lot, and it's because the world is different for other advantage plays. Even we fall victim to saying advanced advantage plays. There's nothing more advanced about, hole carding or shuffle tracking or anything like that. That you're not better because you do those things. It's just another vein of AP. That's it. But in terms of like going after those things, the first thing you need to do, well, step one, Google and find out what you can find. And then you need to start memorizing charts, training the skill, and showing some initiative. And then if you can find a game and you have a network and you can bring that game to somebody, you're going to get recognized for that. You're going to have a great time on your first experience. But also, sometimes it doesn't even take that. Maybe you really hone those skills and you're willing to sacrifice some EV, knowing you're playing a positive game, but not an optimal game, but in the name of getting better and better at the skill set. You have to take initiative. You can't just be like, teach me this. It doesn't work that way with other skill sets out there because that tends to ruin them.
Yeah, I think the fastest track to getting into that world is you need to be out scouting in the trenches on your own first and look for something that seems out of place and look for something that's like, oh, that's where I've never seen them do that.
Yeah.
Or I've never seen this offered here. I wonder if this is anything. And then you go to someone and ask their opinion on it, and then you can kind of work out a deal. Like that seems to be the best way to get into it.
And to do that, you can't have tunnel vision. You have to look at the casino as a whole. I'm there to beat the casino. I'm not there to beat the game of blackjack. I'm not there to beat the game of Mississippi Stud. I'm not there to beat a slot machine. I'm there to beat the casino. So what do I see, and what does my knowledge tell me about procedures, the games, the math, and do I see something different?
And don't give up on it, because I've had people, send me something. Maybe they send me a picture of something they saw that looks odd, and I look at it and it's like, oh yeah, that thing, it's not beatable. But then in the corner of the picture, you see a sign on the table or something. It's like, but what is that?
Yeah,
like what is that? And then it brings you into a whole nother direction. So I wouldn't give up right away if you are not finding anything. I mean, the scouting thing, it's like 10 to 1, maybe 50, 20 to 1.
It is. But I also want to convey something very loudly and very clearly. Casinos are stupid. They are. They are in this business world where people are just handing them money left and right every minute of every day. And that has made them lax. It's an entire industry built on math, and they don't understand math, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But it's such an easy business. They have degenerates, they help create more degenerates, and they focus more on their marketing to get them in than focusing on what they actually have on the floor. And that is where mistakes come in.
I think I'm going to trademark that. Casinos are stupid. It's going to be, we're going to do a run of t-shirts that say casinos are stupid. And it's going to be the title of your autobiography. Casinos are stupid, the SD1 story.
Yeah, it's just true.
So what does AP life look like for you now?
Some of you kids aren't going to understand this. On a 6-speed manual transmission, I'd say I'm operating in 4th gear right now with a hope and a desire to be down to 2nd gear in the next 2 to 3 years max, and just picking choice games that are absolutely fun for me, but also planning my East Coast, West Coast, F the casinos, burn them all down tour.
Let's hear more about that.
So the way I played, I only played rated at 3 places. And those 3 places, I had inside information and knew that I would not get databased. That has helped me in my other advantage play career too, because I have a quote unquote clean name. That being said, just because you get in the databases, guys, doesn't freaking matter. Like, you can still attack casinos left and right. Back to the casinos are stupid thing. But because of that, and because there are so many places I haven't been and never got backed off at, I can now go play rated with a clean name, probably get a large chunk of hours with a very sizable bankroll, and I want to spread massively. And when I get backed off, if they're polite and they're nice, I will be polite and nice. But if they are not, then I'm going to smile at them and tell them how much money I've made doing this and that I don't really care. They can put me in their little book. They can put my name. They can flyer me everywhere. I will still take their money, and there's no stopping me. And that is going to be an amazing, amazing thing to do. And this is just pure in-their-face card counting.
If they're nice to you, are you going to give them a Casinos Are Stupid t-shirt?
You know what? That'd be a really good idea. Just keep them handy with me. What size are you, sir? I want to give you a free t-shirt.
This is a revenge tour.
I mean, you guys know casinos are also just evil and annoying, and the things they try to do and the way they try to intimidate and the authority they think they have and the lies that they say, like, it's just awful. So I just want to stick it in their face as hard as I can.
Yeah, like you're sort of like giving them the overreaction that they're giving us for how little we're taking compared to how much they're making. They're making 10 grand on a slot machine a day. And you're worried about a couple hundred hours in EV an hour. Like,
it's ridiculous.
And they act like you robbed the place.
Yeah. That you did something wrong because you came in and played a game by their rules and you won.
All right, let's go play. Let's just go play. Let's go play now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just infuriating. And then after that, it's kind of like the Richard Munchkin thing. I'm retired. And every now and again, I get brought into some sweet play that I want to be a part of. But I will say that it takes its toll being in a casino is an awful place. My dad, so I was back home. I forgot like $100 slot ticket. This casino was only like, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes from my parents' house. I was just ready to go home. And I was like, hey, Dad, I'll sell you this ticket if you want to go cash it out for me. You can keep $25 of it just to run up the road or whatever. And my old man, that SOB, goes, I'll take 50.
Good
slot
for
ticket.
him.
Yeah. And I laughed, and I was just proud of my dad. I'm like, cool. He's like, well, what do I have to do? So I explained the process. 5 minutes, in and out. He's just cashing out like at a machine. My dad, who was in the Navy, had never been in a casino in his life. I'd never been so proud. He called me after he left. He was in there 2 to 5 minutes. And he just said, that is the most depressing place I've ever been in my life. Like, I looked around for 30 seconds and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yep, it's soul sucking, especially when you can look behind the curtain and see the wizard. And that's what we do. So yeah, they deserve it stuck in their faces. And I'm going to get all the comps. I'm going to be lit up all over the databases. I'm going to see my picture everywhere. It's going to be awesome.
And this revenge tour, this is going to be card counting?
100% card counting.
What is it that you still enjoy about card counting versus the other types of plays?
Well, first of all, let me just say that there's so many things that I do in other advantage plays that if I could not count cards, I could not do them. Like, it is a core skill, first of all. Second of all, nothing teaches you about how casinos react to APs like card counting. So knowing when to identify and see, is this really heat? What's going on? What's different about what's, Joe, your 2-suit rule or whatever, the look that you get, it just teaches you so many fundamental things. And it's just pure. Like, I'm going in there and I'm sticking in their face and I am just playing a perfect game, and there is no nuance to it. It is just me being me and sticking to the math. Like, it's great. There's something that is just really exciting about that. I've done a lot of cloak and dagger stuff for, the last 3 to 5 years. And that in itself has its own kind of rush because you're like, they have no idea. They have no clue. And that's fun. But then there's this whole other side of, man, I am doing something so obvious right in front of you, and you're letting me play. That's great.
Yeah, card counting, I think, is the best training ground for all other forms of AP. I mean, I think it's also a great career and career builder as well. But on top of that, it's like you become an expert in heat, you become an expert in variance, getting used to the swings, and you become an expert in like not giving up and knowing what it takes to stick through all the way to get to that long-term, whatever play you're doing. And it's just, it makes everything make more sense, and you can just adopt new skills easier, it seems like, having that background.
And I use the skills. Like, the skills are used regularly.
Like, I've met other APs who've never done card counting, and I see the way they operate and how lazy they are about security and all these other things. Like, it's just like you're exposing yourself so much to the casino, like, and you don't even realize.
And they also freak out about stuff that is like nothing. Correct. And then if something does happen, they're like, can they do this? Do they have the right to do this? Like, yeah, yeah, they do. Oh, you don't have a backup plan? Card counting? I'm just going to the next casino. United States, nationwide. I can always make EV anytime I want to.
What is it about the sort of the more nuts and bolts of card counting that you like versus other types of AP play? As far as like, what are the pros of the card counting over all that other stuff?
Playing a 105% edge game and getting your ass whooped is really infuriating. And then you look back in your card counting and you're like, okay, I went through like, a 200-hour downswing and that was really brutal, but I had like a 2% edge. That makes more sense to me. So it kind of puts in perspective downswings and card counting. But at the same time, I'm going to crank those hours in card counting. If that 105% edge game that I played that I got whooped on ends, when's the next time I'm going to find it? That's a big fundamental thing too. But also, I really don't like this aspect of other AP things. It's built in. Your edge is so big, you have to tip. Like it's part of it. I hate tipping them. I just do. And in card counting, that's eliminated. And there's no more social pressure for me at all. I'm there to work, to play my game. And interacting with people on a blackjack table versus some other table and carnival games is also different. And that's fun.
I don't know if this is relatable for you guys. I've done very, very little advantage plays outside of card counting, but I remember there was some very easy whole card stuff we used to do, and I would be the BP. So all I'm doing is looking at the signal and placing bets. And I remember how nice it was. I didn't really have to use my brain. However, there's something almost like a flow state with card counting where you're just, maybe it's my personality. I'm kind of a can't turn my brain off kind of a person. And there's enough focusing going on that I don't count a lot these days. But when I do, there's something about kind of like the rhythm of the running count, rank divisor true, playing decisions, deviations that is a little bit more flow state than when I'm sitting there and I'm just like, place a max bet, place a max, and like no thinking.
I 100% agree with that. And that flow state is a very real thing with card counting as opposed to other things. That is a nice sweet spot of it too. Also, I'm ADD, used to be medicated, worked my way to getting off of the meds. Not that that's right for everybody, but that's what I wanted to do for myself. And as such, I had to learn to deal with it, and my wife has to learn to deal with it. But I operate on systems. Breaking systems, the more you break, the more chaos is in my life. And card counting is very systematic. And when you're ADD, also, once you understand it and learn to operate in that world, you almost have a superpower. And I think that contributes also to like my personality at the table and being able to do what I do with an automated card counting game. I'm managing multiple things at the same time. And I think it makes it a little bit easier for me being ADD, more so than even being like an extroverted person. I think that's a big thing for me, and it's helped me a lot. So I've actually, because I'm a loudmouth, jovial extrovert, there's games that I could do the skill, but oftentimes I get shifted into the BP role. And that can be kind of like, okay, I'm putting on my act and that's pretty much all I'm doing. And the cool part about that, again, is like, they have no idea what's going on. This is great.
Yeah.
That's the highlight of it. But yeah, you're not getting into that state like you are in card counting. When they're letting you play and you're spreading and you're in that state, it is really cool.
Yeah. Unless you're getting your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
And phone ringing and all that stuff. Other than that,
yeah,
the flow state can be so sweet.
Yeah, it can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing the update over the last 5 years. And on a separate podcast, we're going to do some Q&A mailbag stuff if you're game for it.
Right on.
Sweet. So hopefully you enjoyed this with a cup of Slingshot cold brew coffee. And
again, not a sponsor. We just
Oatly oat milk. I hope you all enjoyed that. If you want to learn more about blackjack, advantage play, and hang out on a forum and chat with us in SD1, go to blackjackapprenticeship.com.